Welcome to the Affiliate Guy Daily, your daily source for affiliate marketing news, tips, and strategies to take your online business to the next level. Let's dive right in.
Hey, it's Matt here, and I thought I would spend a moment here to take you behind the scenes of my podcast launch. This is, Jeff Walker has his PLF, and this is my PLF or POP for podcast launch plan. This is my second podcast, and so I've learned a lot about how to do this. I learned a lot the first time, and major props to guys like Pat Flynn, John Lee Dumas, Dave Jackson. I'm going to forget somebody here, but Cliff Ravenscraft, and Daniel J. Lewis. All those guys have helped me tremendously in learning how to launch a podcast. So I actually put together a plan. If you're interested in launching a podcast, go to mattmcwilliams.com/pod launch. mattmcwilliams.com/pod launch. I'm going to have sort of a checklist of things to do on there. You can download the plan that I use to be able to launch my podcast. But I just wanted to share with you, how it worked for us and what we learned. And I'll start with, this is probably going to be the least organized episode I'll ever do, but, I'll start with where, kind of how it went. We ended up with one of the top 20 podcasts in iTunes at its launch. One of the things that I did not know, and this ended up really kind of sucking, because with my last podcast, the Worldchanger Show, when I launched it, the first week or so, I was top 5, top 7 in, the business category, and the other category, I forget the other category we were in. I think it's like society or something. We were literally one of the top 5, 7 podcasts. I was beating out guys like Pat Flynn and Michael Hyatt, and that was really cool. And we were number 1 in new and noteworthy for 7.5 weeks. The longest you can be number in the new and noteworthy is 8 weeks. And we were up there. We were number 1 the whole time in 3 different categories. And that was awesome. Well, we launched this podcast, and, admittedly, there's a little bit of vanity to it, just to be honest. Like, I want to be number 1, or at least top 5. But there was also the practicality of, like, when you show up there, you show up right in people's feed, right at the top of the list. You're going to get more people to be like, oh, that sounds interesting. I'll subscribe, or I'll listen and give this a shot. And so that's, why I wanted it. And that's the whole point of doing a big podcast launch, is like to rank really well so you can then get, it feeds into itself. Well, about day 3 of the podcast launch, I got a call from Chandler Bold, my friend Chandler Bold. By the way, perfect segue. Had no plans of doing this, but I'm going to do it. He has a launch coming up, and if you're interested in promoting it, go to mattmcwilliams.com/SPS launch. SPS launch. That's SPS is for self-publishing schools. So if you got anybody interested in publishing a book in your audience, marketers, online marketers, any kind of industry, mattmcwilliams.com/SPS launch, and go check out Chandler's launch. It might be a good fit for your audience. But he called me up. I think it was like on the 3rd or 4th day. He was just, all he wanted to say was, hey, congratulations on the podcast launch, man. I've been listening. It's awesome. Really proud of you. And he had just launched his podcast, the Self-Publishing School podcast. And, so we were kind of in the same boat, and we were talking. I was like, yeah, I'm really surprised. I'm top 20 or so, but I'm not showing up on any of the lists. And he's like, yeah, I heard that those lists were frozen for like the last year. Well, then it occurred to me, every time I look at the list, I'm seeing Donald Miller and some of these other people on there that launched their podcast like a year ago. I'm going, oh, crap. That really sucks, because I wanted to be number 1, So that sucked, but we were, like top 20 or so overall, which was awesome. And the momentum has been amazing, and this has been fun. And I'll tell you, like, this has been a great boon for our business. We're bringing in new subscribers, new everything. This has just been awesome. So thank you, first of all, for helping us to launch. Well, here's what worked. We had a launch team. We created a launch team. If you're going to do a podcast, you need to create a launch team, just like you do a book. And so what we did was we had about 100 people who, helped us, who were, their number 1 job was to subscribe, download, rate, and review the podcast to help us, and to share the podcast on social media and via email if they could. And how we did that was about 2 to 3 weeks before the launch, we sent out what we call the shot across the bow. We got that term from Jeff Walker. And we said, hey, help us pick my podcast artwork. Basically, I'm planting it in your mind. I've got a podcast coming out, right? But now you get to be a part of it. And you help us pick out the podcast artwork. And the surprising thing was, one of them was the one that we use now was like the clear winner. I mean, I was shocked. Actually, the one I picked, if you listen to the episode where I talk about why I'm good at marketing, it's because I'm willing to be wrong. This is what I'm talking about. The one that I like the most got less than 10% of the vote. Out of 3, got less than 10%. It was like 6% to like 34% to 60%. You know, it was a clear winner, right? And then that sent them in to a page that said, hey, thanks for helping me choose my arc. Are you interested in being on my launch team? And then I emailed some friends and said, hey, would you help me launch the podcast? And there you go. We got my launch team. It was awesome. That got us the ratings and reviews and the downloads and the subscribers, which is how iTunes ranks podcasts. Second thing we did was, if you remember, we did where you could win $180 something worth of my best material for subscribing, rating and reviewing, referring other people, et cetera, to the podcast. So it was did all this in ClickFunnels. Hey, it's an affiliate guy podcast. So mattmcwilliams.com/ClickFunnels if you're interested in checking that out. But yeah, we basically set this thing up where you entered your name and email and your iTunes username. And it said, hey, if you subscribed, go enter here. And then you can enter win. On the next step, it said, hey, if you go rate and review the podcast, we'll give you additional entries into the contest. From there, it said, hey, if you'll share it and use this hashtag, you'll get an additional entry for every time you share the podcast. So we had people with 12, 13 entries. Well, you got to do the math on that. That's 1 for subscribing, 3 for rating and reviewing. That means they're sharing 8 to 10 times. That's a win, right? That's the value of a contest like that. So do a contest, which again, mentioned Chandler Bold, totally got that idea from him. Not the funnel. We actually kind of engineered that ourselves. But the idea of having a contest on your podcast launch, I saw that Chandler was doing it, stole it from you, dude. Thank you. The other thing we did 5 episodes on launch day. Simple reason for that. On launch day, you got to download 5 episodes. When you download 5 episodes times hundreds of people, we had thousands and thousands of downloads on the very first day. That's why we ranked so well. And it just helps get that momentum. As far as artwork, we knew from the moment we came up with the name, The Affiliate Guy Daily, we wanted a cartoon, kind of bobblehead doll type thing. It fit. It's just what we wanted. It's just what we wanted. So we got that done through Fiverr. It cost me about $20. Super. If you go to Fiverr and just get 3 people to do one, there's some, I don't have any gig I'd recommend. I would, but I can't remember. And then we kind of took, hey, this one, we combine this with the skin tone of the other one, and we had it. We were done. Same thing. We used Fiverr for the intro and outro. Cost about $30 maybe. And there's some great resources on there. And then the other thing, we had submitted it to the different places, and we submitted it about a week early. To iTunes. They say it can take up to a week to get approved, and we didn't want to take any chances. So don't wait until the last minute or even the day before, or even 2 days before to submit it to iTunes. Submit it about a week in advance. And yeah, it all worked out great. So that's a little bit behind the scenes as far as, things that I wish I had done differently. Oh man, I'll say there's one big thing I wish I had done differently. I wish that I had with the launch team, that I had created a little bit more buzz around the launch team. Especially being like what I do for a living, and I create buzz around affiliate launches. And I kind of forgot to do that. It was kind of like, hey, thanks for helping out. Here's some links, blah, blah, blah. And I created a page, and most people were like, wow, this is great. It's the best thing I've ever seen. But that's not my measure of success. I should have blown them away on the launch team, and I didn't. So epic fail on my part there. I should have had some prizes and some incentives for them to do some more, kind of like I did with the contest. And I didn't do that, and I regret doing that, but lesson learned, right? So again, mention mattmcwilliams.com/pod launch. You can go download my PLP, my podcast launch plan. And if you have any questions or anything, you want to know how I do anything, just go to asktheaffiliateguy.com. And I mentioned rating and reviews and how important those are. you can totally help me out by leaving a rating and review in iTunes. Thank you so much. This podcast launch has been amazing, and we're just getting started. We're going to have thousands and thousands of episodes before we ever even start to slow down on this sucker. So keep listening, keep coming back. I'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks so much for listening. Be sure to join us daily for more tips, updates, and inspiration. You can also join us and watch our deep dives into affiliate marketing strategies at theaffiliateguy.tv. And check all of our free resources at mattmcwilliams.com. See you next episode.